Hello there. Now, is it just me, or is the thin veneer covering the illusion of democracy beginning to crack before our very eyes? As per usual, please like, subscribe and comment below. And when subscribing, please do press that little bell, but also select the all option, or you won't get any notifications when I publish a new video. Watching the great and the good congregate at COP26 has been a game changer. Not for climate change, but for the lifting of the veil covering the hypocrisy of the wealthy and our powerful leaders. Something they now do openly and with no attempt to hide it. And with some big players being absent from COP26, the promises made there may well be baseless, but still they continue. In fact, one main player, the European Union, may not be in a position to act on any promises it makes, and more on that in a minute. There before our very eyes, the pantomime of global politics is on full display as rich influencers with vested interests, as well as politicians and the royalty, who have all gained their wealth from industry, all have their disingenuous speeches piped across the world so everyone can hear their hollow words about saving the world from climate change, etc., etc., etc. Fake elbow bumps followed by hugs and handshakes, no muzzles, nor any proof that they have received the elixir of eternal youth, nor any requirement that they show any such proof, which all shows just how seriously world leaders really take these threats to their own personal health. And their actions make you wonder if there is something about this that they aren't telling us. And then to the most hypocritical part of this. The carbon cost of COP26 is there for all to see. Hundreds of jets flying in and out. Net zero for us, but no jet zero for them. And all those cars, many of them fossil fuel powered, including an 85 vehicle motorcade for that hollow-headed US President Sleepy Joe Biden, who, by the way, was so interested in what was being said that he promptly fell asleep and had to be gently nudged into consciousness by an aide. And do you remember me talking in a video a couple of days ago about all the planet-saving plant-based food that the UK government promised was going to be on offer at COP26? Well, here's what Tom Harwood of GB News tweeted. Amazing. Main bar at COP doesn't sell chips. It does, however, sell burgers with chips. In order to get my chips, I've had to buy a burger too. Fantastic for the climate. So much for that one then. Unless the burgers were made from crushed insects, of course. Tom also pointed to how big the press carbon footprint is in Glasgow by also tweeting, Sky News have 70 journalists here at COP, together with a shocked emoji face. Along with another tweet saying, lots of people here walking around looking purposeful, doing next to nothing at all. That probably sums it all up. Tom has been a busy boy, hasn't he? These COP26 people insist we follow pandemic rules, but then waive them for their big meetings. Then they berate us for wanting to live normal lives, whilst they flip from one opulent setting to the next. Hypocrisy central. I fear that COP26 won't be remembered as a watershed moment for climate change. It will instead be remembered as the event when we, the people of this earth, saw them for what they are. Tyrannical overlords who do not represent us and do not have our best interests at heart. Rats, the lot of them. All looking for control over every aspect of our proletarian lives. And do you really think that's going to work out well for you? With one of the ways they want to control how you live being to encourage those that live in what they deem to be too large a house for you to downsize and free your prized home up for a more deserving larger family. Yes, Housing Minister Chris Pincher told the House of Lords Built Environment Committee that pensioners with large houses shouldn't be left to rattle around in them. I wonder what the Tory voter base will make of that one. Being encouraged to vacate their large house that they've spent years, maybe decades, paying for and turning it into their perfect home and garden, to go and have to live instead in a semi somewhere. In answer to one question, the Housing Minister said, "The challenge is that in the early 1990s, something like 31% of properties were under-occupied. They were too big for the numbers of people rattling around inside them. And now that percentage is 38%, so it's a very significant number of properties where we see under-occupation." Now, will all this apply to those grace and favour homes that some ministers enjoy, the royal family and the super rich? One suspects not. And how long before that encouragement becomes more like compulsion? And get this, the Pope himself has now come out with a 7-year plan to deal with climate change. And that should raise an eyebrow for anyone that studies eschatology for a number of reasons, especially when the book central to his faith says the earth has an expiration date, with an entire book of that compendium being virtually dedicated to the transitory nature of the earth. Why would the pontiff ignore the words of the very book that he is supposed to be bound by? Now, one point that seems to have passed many by is that Boris seems to have announced a new UK government policy at COP26. Yes, at that conference, he's declared a war on cash. We are now headed for the cashless society, with no debate in Parliament. And no moaning from MPs or the Speaker. If that doesn't wake you up, nothing will. And here's the Labour Party for you. At the last PMQs, the Shadow Business Secretary Ed Miliband stood in for the self-isolating Keir Starmer and berated the government over its budget plans to ease taxes on domestic flights, because he said those flights are so damaging to the environment. So how did he get to Glasgow for COP26? Yes, by internal domestic flight. Hypocrisy is woven into our political system. Now, I earlier said that climate promises made by the EU may be built on sand. But before I get to that, I just want to say a massive thank you to all my Super Thanks, Patreon and PayPal supporters, as well as those that do buy a mug with my mug on it. Links in the descriptions box below. You really do help me keep this channel going. So it appears that the EU Commission's plans for going fully green by 2055 may be under attack from 4 EU member states. Yes, Hungary, the Czech Republic, Poland and Slovakia, the group known as the Visegrad 4, are all unhappy at the mounting costs the EU green agenda will be heaping on the ordinary citizens in their countries. And they intend to block those plans. According to Remix at rmx.news, Zsuzsely Gulyás, the minister in charge of the Hungarian Prime Minister's office, told reporters that Brussels would tax people's homes and cars to pay for what he says are misconceived climate protection projects. He indicated that the Hungarian government is committed to defending its policy of reducing household bills, not raising them. And the report also went on to say that he said that the Visegrad 4 countries plan to veto these attempts and would reject the proposals from Brussels. 4 EU member states ranged against the EU Commission, and in these matters I believe it would only take one of them to veto the whole Brussels Green agenda. So take any promises you hear from Ursula von der Leyen with a large pinch of salt. So what's your opinion on COP26 hypocrisy? Please like and comment below.